UnCraft is here for all your World of Warcraft exploration needs, and today I ask you to join me in discovering all of the secrets that Deathwing left behind in his lair. Neltharion's Lair is a dungeon in World of Warcraft's Legion expansion in High Mountain, which originally was the home of Deathwing. There's a ton of lore implications from this place, but since it hosted Deathwing, who was massive, the cave itself is also massive. There will be out-of-bounds explorations of cities, a hidden NPC, secret rooms, and an entire outer shell of the dungeon, and there's also more cool discoveries that are within this cave, so let's uncraft Neltharion's Lair. Now, two things about this video. I already have a small video about this raid, talking about a strange island that's super far above the instance. We will not be going over that bit of the instance again, and also I would really like to give a huge shout out to fellow explorer Senpai the Explorer for showing me the ins and out of this place. I absolutely cannot thank you enough, even though it's been a very long time since we both recorded this video. Her video is actually going to be linked in the description. The first part of the exploration, that of the outer area, begins immediately when you enter the instance. You see this tree branch? We need to land on that. It isn't easy at all. When doing this with Senpai the Explorer, I messed up probably over 100 times. I went back to recently confirm how to perform this glitch, and it was just as hard as it was before. The problem is how unpredictable it is to get stuck high up on the stone here. It was difficult to do this consistently. You can technically jump from this point here to get onto the branch, but every once in a while, your character will actually get stuck higher up in the middle of the pillar. From this spot, you need to jump at the exact correct angle to land onto the branch. Once you are on the branch, there's no guarantee that you'll be able to get out of the cave, as you can easily fall at this point. You need to walk exactly the correct path facing the branch. Once you do this, you'll have to slowly continue up the branch, get as far as possible to where your character's head is touching the ceiling, and then you can use a growth potion or Vicryl Helm growth glitch. When you log back in, you should be able to move further up the branch, carefully, and then jumping to the right so as to avoid the entrance portal. This is quite impressive just to see the scope of how large this place truly is, and to be able to look into the instance itself from the outside. According to Senpai the Explorer, this place goes very far up, as we will see, and we will try to see how high we can climb ourselves. We start moving up the mountain, and I can't help but keep looking around, like there's so much to see here. At this point, she mentions the island above us, which again, I already have a video on. I used an inky black potion to try to see the island better, but it really didn't help all that much. We continue to climb, and I won't say that it is a difficult climb, but it is incredibly tedious. Senpai the Explorer is a much better climber than I am, and left me in the dust quite a bit, which is understandable since she's been breaking WoW much longer than I have. Reaching the top of this peak, it finally allows us to jump backwards to a better climbing platform where we can make much more progress. After a bit of climbing, we come to a point where we get past this ceiling right here, and in order to do this yourself, you simply need to use the Drinking Helm glitch or another growth type item. Sometimes the Dark Moon Seesaw can help as well. And you should be able to get through any of these barriers here and the ones we will talk about later as well. There are a few other methods that work here, but the growth glitch potion is the most well known and one that I can freely talk about on YouTube since Blizzard has never fixed it. Now we can continue to trek up the mountain once we're past that. The textures start to become incredibly strange the higher up we get, and at this point we start to need to use some advanced jumping techniques like super hard jumps, as well as some growth glitches to continue on. And this will be a common theme throughout climbing the mountain. To make the climb even more complicated, the floor is now untrustworthy and it's very difficult to see exactly where we will land from our jumps. At this point, we have to Demon Hunter wall jump on an invisible wall. Not difficult or confusing whatsoever, of course. Taking a look around is quite impressive. All of the textures start to break away, and the top of the place is still significantly higher than we currently are. We are not done climbing yet though. However, the climbing does become even more abstract as we go on, and now we have to traverse between invisible platforms. I very much struggled with this. I failed multiple times over and over and over. I don't even know how to explain how this jump works, but basically I need to get as high up as possible on this invisible peak and then jump as high and far as possible to the next platform that I cannot see. After much trial and error, I finally make it, where Senpai the Explorer has by far left me in the dust here. After climbing onto this massive platform, we are really close to the top of the area, and I used the Sea Mist potion glitch to kind of check it out. This didn't really show too much other than that the area is just even more massive than I could have ever imagined, and it is completely surrounded by an ocean. Well, that's as high as we could climb. We tried, we couldn't climb any higher, and so now we spelunk into the depths of Neltharion's lair. I immediately landed on the largest peak in the cavern and checked out the impressive view. The view was astounding. I'm still shocked at how impressive this whole area is. The WoW developers are just incredible. There's even an entire secret city behind this waterfall area, and that's where I begin my boots on the ground exploration. There are NPCs that run across this bridge and cannot be interacted with, as you'd normally never be able to reach these guys, and you can barely see this place from the regular instance. I mean, that's why I'm calling it a hidden city. It's something you would never even notice as you're playing through the instance. Crossing this bridge, we can explore the low polygon buildings. I never thought I'd explore this place in so much detail, but I'm very glad that I can show this out of bounds area off to all of you. This is truly a place that showcases just the sheer impressiveness of the WoW art team, who have always impressed me, but this just goes above and beyond. After the hidden village, I explored this hidden waterfall and lake area that is not typically reachable. There wasn't much here. The water is shallow and there are a few strange textures, but no secrets other than that. I climbed over to these strange water wheels within the waterfalls, and above the waterfall was a massive hole in the cave which gave way to the night sky and some strange textures. This is another area that one could climb to the top of the instance from if they cannot get out the way that I showed from the beginning of this video. That way is very hard, and I don't expect everyone to be able to do it, especially if you're not a demon hunter. You got no luck, because demon hunters are fantastic. This also confirms that there is an ocean surrounding Neltharion's lair. It's kind of hard to see with the Sea Mist potion, so this is just a confirmation of that. What a beautiful area. I never did jump down to the shore as I didn't know if I could get back up, so instead I looked over at the structures on the waterfall. Weirdly, they led further back into the cave where there are some strange blue textures. I don't think this entire section of the cave is even visible from anywhere else in the instance. And finally, after exploring this area for a while, I fell back in bounds. Yeah, it happens. There's quite a bit left to explore here. We're really just getting started with Neltharion's lair. So let's talk about the rest of this massive cavern. I met back up with Senpai the Explorer, and we found an easy way to get out of bounds within the stone market section of the instance. To the right here, on this cliff, there's an invisible wall that you will need to use the growth glitch to once again get past. Then we can Demon Hunter wall climb our way up, which I was so terrible at the time of recording this. Since then I've gotten a lot better, but wow, I was bad. We kept on climbing up the wall, using more Demon Hunter wall climbing, and we continued to the right to do more wall climbing. And now we are at yet another out of bounds city. Not really a hidden city, this is clearly visible from the instance. Here we can walk across the bridge, again with the NPCs, and this city is a lot more detailed than the previous one. The other one was very low polygon, this one is relatively high polygon. There are stationary NPCs here as well, and the area is very well worth a visit. The hovels on the wall have no clip detection. Beyond the city, we cross yet another bridge, and once we reach the ledge, we can jump across the large chasm, and here it is, one of the famous pink cubes that the developers left in. I always love finding these things, but honestly, I wasn't really expecting to find one in this instance. Continuing on, we climb up higher into the instance, find more bridges, and Senpai the Explorer looked around at the first village that I went through earlier. We hopped back over the bridges and climbed to another out-of-bounds NPC area filled with some different scenery. Also, the ground doesn't match where our characters stand. It's kind of odd, but even odder is this. What is this battery thing? I'm not sure what it is, but I think it's meant to give light to the cavern. Really neat to show this off, but again, I don't know what it really is. Now we move further into the cave, and this view is just absolutely breathtaking. I hit a weird invisible barrier here, unfortunately though. Thankfully, Senpai the Explorer saved me. Thank you, I really appreciate it. Jumping further into the cave from here, uncovered some massive areas with some bizarre textures. Nothing too crazy for this instance, but I still like seeing this stuff. I can't get over how large this place is. I mean, obviously Deathwing is a pretty big dude, but like, this is just impressive. There's a very blue paint dot down here as well. Now this is shown throughout the rest of the instance. There are blue dots all over the place, but this was like one of the first ones that Senpai the Explorer and I saw, so we decided to jump down and investigate it. One weird thing I did discover in this little area is that if I tried to get onto a mount, it stated that underwater mounts are not allowed in this area. The heck? Like, how, why, and what? There wasn't much else on this particular ledge, but I'm glad I got to show off that weird statement. Mounts in general aren't allowed in this area, and I'm not underwater, technically. I'm not swimming or have a breath meter, so what is going on? Heading to the west, we did our best to stay above the instance. That led us to a giant mountain that we climbed as well. We found another blue texture and another exit to the outside of the cavern. Yet another place you could probably use to climb to the top of the cave from. For now, we decided to head in the other direction, which shows the smoke and mirrors of these giant waterfalls and reveals that they lead to absolutely nothing. Continuing on, we arrived at another out-of-bounds NPC area, and this was the first time that I noticed the NPCs actually target us by the way their heads move as we walk by them. They turn towards us. Sadly, we got trapped at this point, and we had to unfortunately jump back down into the main instance. This next section I'm going to talk about a few more oddities that Senpai the Explorer and I found. There's a lot more left. We still have to talk about the hidden NPC and some other cool stuff I found at a different part of the instance, but I just want to go over a couple little oddities that Senpai the Explorer and I found. So next, Senpai the Explorer and I went to a part of the map that you can literally just walk out of bounds in. Kind of a weird oversight there, Blizzard, but it led to a killer view. Do you know that there's a treasure chest on this ledge when you jump in the hole? I'm not sure what purpose this has, but you could really only reach this if you had a slow fall spell or a glide like a demon hunter, and the rest of these small gaps in this little hole here, there's a few weird textures, but I didn't see any other treasure chests or anything else worth mentioning. Finally, we reached the dragon spine. I found out here that if you really want to, you can actually push past these NPCs as a demon hunter. You could have actually done this like during Legion as a demon hunter. Maybe that could have actually led to some interesting mythic raids, or mythic times. I don't really know. I didn't do mythics. I still don't to this day. They can actually help push you out of bounds too, and with their help, I decided I was just going to start climbing these massive dragon bones. There's some weird particle effects up here, and the bones were definitely difficult to climb, but getting on top of them showed off the great lighting of this area. Really cool, but it also showed that we are very much still in just a massive cave, and this is just a small lit section of that cave. There really was not much else to see on top of these skeletons, but it really was a neat view. I tried to jump onto this mountain with the weird blue textures, but there was sadly an invisible wall there, which impeded my progress. In the back of this area in the southeast, I made it to this mountain and began climbing it. I did find a strange cave up here. I don't ever remember seeing this during the Legion expansion. I don't particularly believe that this is a secret area, but it definitely wasn't very familiar to me. I don't really know why. I know it, like looking back at it, I know it was part of the instance, but there wasn't anything of interest here, except for this very oddly placed death line below it. I had actually stopped OBS at this point, but I thought to point out that there is a random death line here. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, enough about the massive cave area. Let's backtrack and start our exploration just after the surfing down the giant waterfall and then going down the stream in the terrible Hobbit style. I don't know why they did this. This is just dumb. We found many ways to get out of bounds here. And one way we found to get out of bounds was jumping on these mushrooms and then jumping on top of the stone wall. You can actually fall behind it. After a bit of exploration, I concluded that every single one of these stones most likely has a giant room behind it. Now, we weren't able to get behind every single rock, but if anyone has found anything behind one of these rocks, let me know on my Discord or through my email. I would love to hear about it. We could not get out of the one room that we did explore, so we actually had to hearth out of there, which was not fun. But once we got back, I did look through one more cave, but this time I decided to use a tonk toy because I really didn't want to have to hearth and get all the way back here again, or would have been very annoying. This is the way I proved that all these stones have caves behind them because, you know, I jumped at a couple and figured out they do. Now, there's one particular stone that is incredibly important, but not specifically because of the room behind it. That's because we can get underneath the cavern once we jump in between these two stones. The stone is located just after the barrel scene, as I mentioned before, and it is to the right. This led to a myriad of discoveries, some that even an advanced explorer like Senpai did not know about. The first thing we did is to look around the out of bounds area. This cave, once again, overwhelmingly massive. It even has a giant underground area as well. It's kind of crazy. As we were jumping to the left, I stupidly jumped back in bounds. Thankfully, it's incredibly easy to get back into the out of bounds area, and this time I followed Senpai the Explorer, and I missed my jump again. Great. And then I missed the recovery, even better. Great view until I fell into the infinite DC abyss. I ended up needing to use the character unstuck feature, which thankfully is now super fast and streamlined. It even kept me within the dungeon, which was not exactly expected, but was super nice. I got back into the out of bounds area, and I missed the jump again. Not wanting to DC, I panicked, and I did whatever I could not to fall into the abyss. Weirdly, I got stuck in between the ground and apparently a body of water that I can now swim in, and I can now swim under the map as well. Popping straight up, I arrived back inside the instance, and finally, I was able to make it to where Senpai the Explorer was. I saw this cave and I didn't know what was in it. In hindsight, I think this place is actually accessible normally, but I don't ever remember seeing it. I actually went back to this instance to see if the cave was truly part of the instance, and I discovered that it kind of is sort of a secret area. The cave is never used normally for anything, but there is a small critter here named Sparky. The critter is very annoying and continuously knocks you back. Supposedly, you can charm this critter with a druid, hearth out of here, and annoy any other players with a knockback effect. I have no idea if this actually works. If you've tried it, let me know. Now, Senpai the Explorer was trying to figure something out, and while she did this, I decided just to explore the area a bit more myself. I took a wild gamble and I jumped down to this blue platform. Weirdly, I went straight through it and then started swimming when I went past it. This allowed me to stay suspended in the out of bounds area and obtain a fantastic view of the instance from underneath. Definitely a better view than the one we had from before. I saw the lava area in the distance. Now, mind you, this was before the earlier part of the video. I had a weird thought to try and reach it since I had never visited there before. This was a very long jump, and the scenery was great on the way over there. Thankfully, I landed on this rock, and depending on where I walked on that rock, I started swimming or walking. Really, really strange. Notice something weird here? Yeah, there is a random NPC here. What's under the lava? This is by far the strangest place I've ever seen a Robert, as some people call them. This is definitely the first orc one I've seen as well. In the past, I've seen gnome, human, and now I've seen orc as well. I wanted to try and get over to the NPC, but I was unsure how safe it would be. Would I DC? I don't know. The whole area is super strange, and the bubbles coming from my mouth are actually lava bubbles. So there's that danger too. Can you imagine the indigestion my character has from this? Before I headed over to the Robert, I checked out the rest of the surrounding area, and the views were just surreal. Jumping too high leads me to jumping underneath into the lava. So I jumped upwards into the lava. That makes a lot of sense, right? And when I swim back to where I was, I'm still in lava. Okay, this threw me way off. I wasn't sure why going back to this rock kept me in the lava swimming, but at this point, I actually did die. I did obtain a final view of the boss area from underneath. It's pretty cool. Let's get back to this area one final time, and after making it back to the strange water chunk, I waited for Senpai the Explorer. One weird thing I noticed here that was not apparent last time, my breath bar never appeared, and even though I was swimming underwater, I never did die. This has happened to me before in out of bounds areas, but it usually is a lie, and usually I would die after a couple minutes. This time, I don't think it was because I was waiting for Senpai the Explorer for I think like 4 or 5 minutes, and so I never did die, which is just weird. I jumped back into the area like I did the first time, and we decided to jump towards the model to see if we could get a better view. Of course, he's in his loincloth and is completely bald, like I surely will be very soon. Maybe. I still be my brother, so we're good. But he's also perpetually in lava. Forever. What a terrible fate. He's also soulless, but you know. After getting a close-up, I failed a jump. Oh no. Well, it was a fantastic view and good thing for that unstuck feature. That is the end of my exploration of Neltharion's Lair, where Deathwing resided. Thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then please let me and YouTube know by liking the video or sharing it to your friends. I also want to leave a shout out to the patrons who continued to support me in my absence over the last few months. There has been quite a bit going on, so it means more than you could ever know. Special shout out to Wiggalicious. The rest of the patrons' names are now scrolling across the screen. See you all in the next uncrafting video.